about the We Make Events campaign and what we've been up to and what's going on. I've got a really esteemed panel to have a discussion with shortly. Prior to doing that, though, I would just like us to run a video and then we can start the conversation. So hopefully they're ready to run the video. Okay, well, I'm sure most of you have seen that video before, but I think it's worthwhile playing it again because it gives you an outline of what we're doing and what we've been trying to do. Before I introduce the rest of the panel, I just give you a little bit of history on We Make Events, and that is that it was started by a number of industry professionals and also PLASA earlier this year. And as time was progressing, we were gathering pace and gathering support. And in July, we joined forces with a campaign that was called Light It in Red. You may well remember that, which was particularly successful in terms of lighting buildings across the UK. And Lighting in Red formally joined up with We Make Events after the 6th of July, and so far have managed to light thousands of buildings across the world. Indeed, on September the 30th, there were over 2,300 buildings lit up across the world to demonstrate the plight of our industry to people who wanted to connect with us. So who's joining me on the panel? We have three people from We Make Events. We have Gary White, we have James Gordon, and we have Coy Neminathan. And to start us off, I think I'm going to go to Gary and ask him to give us a bit of an update or give us a bit of background on what was happening up to our first major event, which was on the 11th of August. Over to you, Gary.
Okay, so well, I was approached initially by PLASA to see if I could assist them as a lead coordinator. And to be perfectly frank, at the outset, I said no, because I felt that there was lots of hashtags out there being issued on a daily basis, but not quite really producing anything. So we had a conversation with PLASA and the rest of the team, and suggested that if they went off to approach as many trade associations as possible and as many production companies and open our arms, and then from that, then you know, maybe it'd be worthwhile. So PLASA did that, and they did a fantastic job. Within a week or so, they had over 20 trade associations engaging. And so on my first call, there was maybe a couple of pages of Zoom of people who wanted to engage in the hashtag We Make Events. So to cut a long story short, fundamentally, we set a date, an ambitious date actually, of the 11th to do our first activation, which was in central London. And at the same time, we coordinated 16 regional supporting events, which was all to be activated on the 11th of August. And within that, we pulled together a whole bunch of support. So we had a press boat, and on that press boat was everybody from Harvey Goldsmith and Trevor Horn and Chris Cowie and many others, where we did the nature of the design was to allow us to have the press in our hands for over 30 minutes while they traveled down the Thames. And the event itself on the boat was live streamed to everybody's phones who were participating along the Thames in a pre-registered socially distanced activity, if you like. So what happened was on the boat, we did manage to engage with the press for the first time. We also live streamed the event to BT Tower, which allowed all of the mainstream media to pick it up. And on that day, actually, we were on everything from breakfast TV through to 10 o'clock news, which was great. And we certainly ticked all the boxes for not only 50% of my goal was to do public awareness and media, and the other 50% was about getting activation and allowing our friends and colleagues a voice, a moment where everybody was currently frustrated sitting at home, and we gave that moment for them. So that was the beginnings, and everybody was absolutely focused on the 11th in order to get all the approvals from all the London authorities that we would normally do for a live event. And then we raised our head on the 12th, and we were bombarded with emails of "That's fantastic, what you're doing next." And so it was at that point we had to take a breath and decide what is next and how we're going to do that. So we decided as a team to go away for a few days. We pulled a structure together, which was going to be the concrete foundations of where we're at now, actually. It was extremely ambitious. At that point, we had probably 3.5 pages of engagement from people on the Zoom calls. And so therefore, we went with allocating the groups, the working groups, and people taking responsibility, really, almost like a business and departments. So that was our first task, which was difficult because everybody's pro bono, may I add, and expectations of people's time and effort. But we did manage to achieve this and have our 5 working groups, and off we went, really. I'll hand it back to you for a minute, Peter.
Yeah, thanks, Gary. And that's exactly what happened. And with the working groups that were created, it was their jobs to go off and engage with whoever they needed to engage with to maximise the effectiveness of that particular working group. And as Gary says, you know, the people who were joining us on the call, these were people who were all volunteers, giving up their time and energy in order that we might progress our particular position. So once we decided on the working groups, we also expanded what we were trying to achieve in terms of we were then going to go international, and we were then setting up a group that was to deal particularly with politics and to talk to us about how the international connections have worked and grown. I'm going to ask Coy to bring us up to speed with what's been going on there, because I know it's been taking up a lot of his time.
Yeah, I'd start with that, actually. I'd start with many of us on the We Make Events team actually, unfortunately, are still working a full-time job. So we are trying to balance as best as we possibly can. And that's something that, you know, I took on from the 11th of August. After the event, we knew we wanted to do something global. Why? Because there was a number of different countries that were involved prior to that. But what we wanted to do was ensure that we became a voice for those countries and those individuals, those friends and colleagues that we meet when we tour, when we visit an exhibition internationally. those individuals, and some of them didn't have a voice. They didn't have a trade association that could help them air their thoughts, their feelings, their concerns, and ultimately their problems to their government. And We Make Events was an outlet, and we as a team wanted to ensure that we got as many people on board as possible. And we had 2.5 weeks, pretty much from the 11th of August, to plan and execute Global Day. So on the 30th of September, we were fortunate enough to recruit 25 international, 25 countries to get on board with We Make Events. And on that day, we executed a number of different activities to highlight the plight of our industry. So whether it was lighting buildings in red, whether it was shafts of white light beamed into the sky, representing the thousands that were out of work in their local territories and countries, or whether it was projecting a show onto a building that was closed. So their local venues were projecting a show which people had attended. And we wanted to stir the emotions of the public. And we recognize that without the public, the government are not going to listen. So we needed the public behind us. And by stirring emotions, by getting them on our side, by letting them understand what we actually do, was what we needed to do globally. And fortunately, 25 countries did that brilliantly. So everywhere from New Zealand, Australia, we had the Philippines, we had right across, you can imagine it to be an 8 a.m. start in New Zealand, finishing off into the west coast of America. But one most important thing was just the getting together. The holding hands was brilliant. And we felt that this was just the beginning. There are plenty more other countries and individuals that need assistance. So I'm hoping that we can grow this into something more bigger.
Thanks, Chloe. Gary, you were going to say something.
Yeah, just to add, whilst we were working on the 11th of August, at the same time, a group in the US had reached out to us, and we were working with them, and they delivered a Light It in Red, or a Restart Live, their title, but under the We Make Events banner, where they did an activation. I think it was 1,600 buildings, again from east to west coast. Same. I mean, obviously the political chat was slightly different, but fundamentally under the same brand and following our messaging, basically. And then I suppose, and since that, I think it's fair to say, Carl, Coy, we are now in a position where I think we're 31 countries.
Correct. Yes, 31.
Yeah. So, and I guess some of you might be going, well, brilliant. What's it done? And what are you doing? We'll come on to that in a minute. But I think what it did certainly was to highlight our situation to the general public, and we got an enormous amount of support. And throughout that, throughout the lead up to the 30th of September, the amount of publicity that we were able to raise, whether that was individually with We Make Events, or indeed other hashtags coming to join us and share in what we were trying to do, and that's been really successful too. So one of the biggest questions we get asked is, well, why don't we join up with other hashtags? And recently, and there was a press release to confirm this, we joined up with One Industry, One Voice. So we don't work under them, we work in alliance with them, and in an attempt that on certain key issues and certain key messages, we all work together to try to emphasize the issues that we're facing and the difficulties that we're facing. What it also means is that each campaign can function and do what it wants to do within its sector. So hence you have other hashtags with a We Make Event logo on it alongside another logo, whether that's Panto Dames or whether that's other marches or other things that go on. So we are working with other hashtags in order to grow the support and grow the amount of people who are helping us. One of the key areas that we set up a working group was regarding politics and how we go about raising our voice within that particular sector. So we have a political team. We have some incredible people, incredible volunteers in that team, as we do across We Make Events, who are incredibly proactive, incredibly good at doing what they're doing. And James, I'm going to ask you if you wouldn't mind just covering up a bit of the work that they've been doing.
Yeah, I was going to say, actually, on that subject, we do have a strong team across the whole of We Make Events, but that doesn't mean to say more people can't take part and help us. Actually, we definitely need more support, and any help we can get would certainly be welcome. I mean, I've been pushing with this from pretty much the beginning, and I can tell you it was really difficult for us to get anything other than a standard letter back from an MP prior to August the 11th. And all the activations of lighting up red buildings and shards of light, I always get asked, why are we doing that? What does that mean? You did that last month. But actually what it does is it gets us noticed in areas and in politics in particular where we weren't noticed before. So whereas it was really hard for us to get any engagement from MPs prior to August the 11th, we're sat here now, a matter of months later, actively engaged with about 222 MPs, leveling degrees of support, but they're actually communicating with us and listening to what we're trying to tell them about the plight of our industry and what we need to get back to work and sort of the runway we need them to plan for us to be able to go back to work. And it takes time, it's very frustrating. So I think on the political team, there's about 35 people that are very, very active in trying to contact MPs. We've got a team that are talking to CBI who are helping us and they understand the challenges we're facing and they're very well connected inside Parliament and are very keen to lobby on the different skills that we have, because actually our industry is quite diverse as well. So it's quite hard to explain to people what we do. And we've been having to educate a lot of people, first of all, in terms of the percentage of people that are freelancers, the companies that are involved, and how we all come together and put on a large event. And it's not just one big company, it's teams of people that get called in to do these projects. We've also got HSBC, who've been very active. Actually, they're lobbying and pushing from a financial point of view, because obviously our sector actually does deliver a lot of growth to the UK. And it's been great the last couple of weeks when Boris did his speech last week, and the first question he got asked was about the events industry. That would not have happened without all of you guys getting behind We Make Events and standing on the riverbank by the Thames, or standing in a wet field with a light shining into the sky. All of that allows us to get some media attention. It allows people to see that we exist and we are there, and it allows the political team in particular to have those conversations. And we have to be careful, we can't be too activist. We have to follow the social distancing. And it was brilliant after the London event. We didn't have one single complaint, and Gary will know exactly how many people we probably had registered, but it was well in the thousands, and everybody behaved themselves. We didn't get any bad press for it. And everybody, the press works with you, but it can also work against you. So you have to be extra careful when you're in the public eye with that stuff. And I think the momentum is still building. We still have, I think, a long way to go. Obviously there's increasing restrictions, certainly in the UK at the moment. So it's not something that we've solved straight away. But I think the more of you that get behind us and help us, the bigger our industry gets noticed, and hopefully the sooner we'll get some reaction.
Brilliant. Thanks, James. Just picking up on one of the things that James said is about people volunteering, and we could always do with more. One of the natural things that happen within something like We Make Events is that people they come in and help. They might be helping for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, and they have to leave for various reasons, whether it's to go back to their day job or whatever it may be, and that can leave us with gaps from time to time. So any of you watching and genuinely want to give up some of your time and feel you can help, just go to the website and let us know through the website, and someone will be in touch, hopefully to invite you in and to see how you can help, because that's really crucially important as we move forward, because not only have we got this political drive that's going on and we've got further events coming up, we also have a fundraising and the fundraising is split across a number of different areas. So, Gary, I'm going to chat about the fundraising.
Well, yeah, but I'll give everybody a broad understanding operationally about how we function. So basically, there's a call at 9 o'clock every Monday and Friday where we only look forward on that. That's all about activations. It's all about planning. It's all about where we're going. And then any newcomers, we do a catch-up meeting with them, and then that's where we do once a week a separate call, Zoom call with these, where we explain where we've been and the challenges and the progress, and then obviously they pick up the 9 o'clock call thereafter once we're moving forward. But there's, as I mentioned earlier, there's 5 different working groups, but in the working groups there's subgroups. It is an amazing machine now that's pretty well oiled. So you've got the politics all doing their things, but they've split up into comms and communicating with MPs through to looking at surveys, and they're very official, and also we have a very specific way about ensuring that our data is correct. So there's somebody responsible for data. We have sitting in the background, we've got a marketing and PR team, which are like 20 people. So obviously the first thing after the 11th was we decided we had to rebrand. We then produced a website, and then on the back of that, all of the different elements to support where we were heading, the website needed to cover. So they've been amazing. We've had to generate lots of video content, so we need support left, right, and centre, really. We have a finance department, so we made a decision that we needed to raise money, as Peter just mentioned, put all the structures in place, and that's moving forward nicely. Then we've got the events sector, which sits and looks after. So we've got regional managers, and we've got somebody overseeing all the regions, and we've got a London person, and blah blah blah. So it's extremely organised to ensure that the comms of everybody, all the activations that people are doing, is in with the current guidelines, and second, and specifically in their local areas, and working backwards from that. We also ensure that everybody's got the same data and given the same facts, because that's one thing we learned after the 11th. There's lots of people did their own video content from their activation, which was fantastic. But actually, there was people giving different stats about different things. So we pulled all of that back in, and so you've got one source now, and the PR team approve basically what we're going to say from an external point of view. And then obviously Coy's team, which is the internationals, which we touched on. But I mean that, you know, them guys get together twice a week. And talk about not only what the UK are doing, but what they're doing, and locally that the successes that they're having. So FYI, Spain are having some great success under We Make Events, because when they first established, as Coy mentioned, they didn't really have any trade association as such. And amazingly, they've managed to get North and South together. They're all now under one banner of We Make Events. Their activations are fantastic. And them guys are making progress, and they're talking to government. Same with Slovenia. They've had some results. So for us, that's really important, because the way we see it is a global movement, and the bigger the voice, the stronger we become. And then we have a sector, a broadcast sector. So we're working on many activations within that, and we've got a group of ambassadors. So there's about 15 guys who are people that may do sponsorship deals with a artist on their microphone, or it could be tour managers who are specifically reaching out to artists to look for various pieces of support, whether that be we're trying to collate memorabilia at the moment to do an auction towards Christmas, and then we're now marketing team, we've got our merchandise, so there's a whole bunch, there's a team within that managing the whole process, so it's just endless, but at the same time it is coordinated underneath the steering group, which ensure it's going down the path of trying to achieve our goals, really, which is about messaging. And then also, just to add, we're also part of the ambassador team's role at the moment is looking at live streaming, and we've had 2 artists that support us on that, where we're getting their funds from the profits from this, which are going into the charities. So amazing work. And at the moment, pledged, this is not in the bank, but pledged is you know, we've got 100,000 plus. So great work, but our goal is 25 million, just saying. So we need support, help us out. There we go. Sorry, Peter.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I think whilst Gary's painted this picture of this incredible train going down the road doing all the stuff, we do get derailed from time to time, because it does happen with any organization, but we get back on and we keep going, because that's how passionate and how much we believe in it. So I think the other thing that I think it's important to make clear, which was that the way that the organization is set up now, PLASA is no longer the key stakeholder in this particular in We Make Events, and it's now really it's everybody who wants to take part in it is a part of We Make Events. So that's how transparent we try to be. So if you do have a particular message that you feel is important and would help our messaging, then come and talk to us. I think the other thing that is really important about We Make Events is that, and any hashtag, whilst many people will be going, what are you doing next? What are you doing next? And why aren't you doing this? Or why aren't you knocking on number 10? Well, we're trying to do that, and we're trying to do it in a professional, civilized way. But all these activities, quite apart from raising our public profile, actually gives people like Gary has already mentioned an opportunity to take part and to do something and to feel like they're taking part. So we'll continue to do events and activities so people can get that feeling too. Okay, we've got about half an hour to go, and I know that a number of questions have been coming in. So rather than us just talk about what We Make Events is or what it might be worthwhile just going to some of your questions, and Coy has agreed to answer all of them.
Brilliant.
I'm sure that wasn't in the script, but there we are.
It's a joke, yeah.
No.
Well, I don't know. Gary and I think it's real.
So I'm going to read these because they're on a different screen. So just wanted to say a huge thank you for everything you've done and doing. My events business is based in North Wales, and we haven't been able to do events for up to 30 people indoors, never mind anything else. Our events sector has hardly been acknowledged by ministers publicly, and there is no public discussion about when anything will be able to happen again. Though we'll keep on trying to find solutions, is there anything we can do more to get our voices heard? Gary, I'll go with first.
Is there anything more? Well, I mean, let's just an example, and it might not necessarily. Everything is a journey, and we're on the journey, and it's certainly we're nowhere near the end of our journey. But examples of what we're trying to do at the moment to get our voices heard. So the survival tour, the guys who've been cycling around England in order to raise awareness, going from venue to venue, for example, huge amounts of logistical input on that we've had to put, but with the support we've had from Louise and her team from a PR and marketing point of view has meant that actually in the past 10 days we've probably been on 8 of them, regional news in all these locations, and certainly, I mean, they were on the main page of the Times the other day. And Sunday morning we'll be on Breakfast TV. So it's just that constant drip feed, and at the same time, amazingly, they're also raising, I think they're about £23,000 now, excluding the gift aid. So amazing work. But beyond that, as I said, whilst you're looking at an activation, there's also 5 more that are being planned. So it's all about awareness. And the way I mentioned earlier of everybody merging together to create, it's almost like there's 15 staircases to one landing, and we're all actively going up the staircase, or our own staircases at the same time, but constantly communicating with each other so we can be efficient. So there isn't any real magic solution, but all I can say is that we're working tirelessly to make sure that we are trying to get our voice heard and get to the point where not only the companies are supported, not only the venues, but also the freelancers. I mean, that we're all on the same mission, really, and we have our list of goals that we're trying to achieve.
I definitely think getting involved as well. If we on the political team, we're trying to engage with as many MPs as we can. I'm sure we will have made contact with some in Wales, but let's get involved and let's see if we can help contact more of them. they definitely know. The more local companies that contact them in their constituency, the better chance we've got of getting them to come and visit and actually try and understand what our industry is about.
Yeah, and I think the other thing for us to acknowledge is the breadth of coverage we're getting now. So whether it's national, regional, local, there is a massive amount, and we are collating where all the coverage comes from, whether it's local radio, local paper, regional radio, regional papers, nationals, and including what sort of reactions we're getting from when we approach members of parliament. So James has already said we've got, I think, over 200 MPs now who have, they're cross-party, who have said that we will support you at some form, in some shape. So one of the things they've allowed us to do is to name them. So when we're communicating with other parts of government, we can list these people, which we've done in a communication, and we're waiting to hear back from government as to how they respond to our letter, and knowing that we've listed over 200 MPs who are supporting us. So
well, you Peter, you were in the House of Lords last week, weren't you?
I was
virtually, at least.
I was in the House of Lords last week, giving evidence of the impact of COVID-19 on the labour market within our industry. I was also joined that particular time by Julian Bird from SALT, or UK Theatres, and I was also joined by the Chief Exec of the Musicians Union. And so it was a useful time, a useful couple of hours to spend answering those questions from the Lords. Yeah, it's good.
Can I also add, Peter, that it might be very, very straightforward and maybe too simple, but I spoke to a number of different production companies, while doing my Avelites job, and they've been fortunate enough to apply and receive some funding from that 1.57 billion. They've received money. So you may think you're not eligible, you may not think you cannot get it, but I've been surprised to see there's a number of different companies within our industry who have been able to attain something. So I might be stating the obvious, but worth applying. Definitely worth applying.
There is a question about that. So let me find the question. It says here, many organisations have been devastated to hear this week that they've not been awarded support from the government's Cultural Recovery Fund, and with no justification or feedback provided. Are there any plans to put pressure on the government to provide a much needed second wave of support for platforms such as independent festivals, which provide critical employment opportunities to freelancers and suppliers across the country?
So firstly, I think we have to, grateful's not the right word, thankful's probably a better word. We have to be thankful for the companies that Coy's just mentioned that did apply and were successful. It's very difficult to actually understand the criteria of how they were awarded and why others weren't awarded, especially when some of the businesses are actually doing a very similar role. There is, a plan for us to do something once we know what happens next week, when there's the second wave that gets issued, and we've got a much better idea then of what's gone where. And obviously, we have to keep the pressure on, because in reality, although 1.57 billion, when you look at the places it has been distributed over, it's actually not that much money for a number that we have in our industry. So we have to, that's part of the campaign, is to just keep pressure on about the support we need while we're still being, unable to go back to work, or legally unable to go back to work.
Yeah, okay. Another question. It says, hi, does this movement encompass the exhibition industry that isn't allowed to work? Well, yes, in the sense that we are now working with One Industry, One Voice. Most of the people involved with them are involved in the exhibition industry. And so, yeah, we're meeting with them regularly, as well as other hashtags, to make sure that we don't fall over each other, we don't mismanage messaging, and make sure that it's clear. So we each have our opportunity to say what we want to say, and don't get in each other's way, I think, is the best way of putting it. So yes, we are actually doing that.
Well, I think it's fair to say there is a flight path between all the hashtags, from hashtag Let Music Play, One Voice, etc., where we are the marketing teams are talking to each other to make sure that if somebody wants to make an announcement, that we all stand away and let them get their moment. So that is, I mean, albeit we've only been doing that about 5 weeks, but nevertheless, we're still doing it now, which is really important. So we're all learning every week.
Just before we go into more questions, Gary, do you want to just update everybody who's online at the moment what's coming up in terms of, you know, what the plan is for the end of October, and anything else you might want to share? And in the meantime, while Gary's doing that, for those people who are watching, if you have any questions, please let us know, and we'll hopefully get them answered before our time's up.
Okay, so I mean, after the 11th, you all know that we did other activations. We did our Global Day on the 30th. On the 29th, we did a silent demonstration in Parliament Square, and then we followed it on with Jess and her team, where the music guys, the orchestral players, did a 20% of a piece, and we've decided to keep that flowing because we want to be exactly what that exhibition. You know, the question about exhibition, we want to cover as many genres as we possibly can. So from the 26th of October, every day, which is pre-registered, everybody, because we don't want to be accused of gathering an audience, so it is pre-registered only. But we are creating a series of creative campaign demonstrations, if you like, where we are on the Monday, it will be ballet. So we've got 183 ballerinas or ballet artists, male and female, who will be in Parliament Square, and we'll do a 20% of that piece. Following the next day, it'll be a comedian, i.e. the comics life of our sector, and then from that we will some West End, some dancers each day, and then following on from that we are doing opera, and then the Saturday will be West End waiting, doing their thing as well, and then Saturday evening is where it's registration from 5 p.m. We will do our bow. So the idea is that there's been a series of performances that week, and then the technicians and the backstage team will do a bow on the 5th, which we're working with the Light It in Red team and various others to pull that together at the moment. So I think the registration goes live on Monday.
Yes, it does. Okay. We mentioned fundraising earlier on, and one of the objectives is to give money to charities, and one of the challenges for charities is their articles and being able to respond to something like COVID. What's encouraging is charities are now able to or modifying their articles in order that they can respond to a pandemic such as this. So I think the charities that we're involved with, they are ready to go live, so people can go and apply and talk to those charities about their position and see if they qualify for any grants. So that's what we hope to do with the money, and we know that the charities that are certainly our key charity taking part is keen to help out as many people as it can. So please take a look at the website and have a look. Let's go to another question.
Peter, before you ask that question,
yeah.
I just wanted to say that there's lots of activities and things that do happen, and to a number of people who are not directly involved with We Make events, they won't realise how connected we are. A bit like the Panto Dames. I think that's an example that we should highlight. You know, We Make events was, you know, part of that, and yes, that did get good publicity on the telly, and people who are not involved directly with We Make events just won't see that. So again, you know, it is down to us to market that out externally, but it is, you know, I think it's worthwhile highlighting again. There's so many different activities that we are involved in that doesn't necessarily attach itself to that We Make events tag. So I think it's important to remember that.
Okay. Let's go to question here now. It says, first and foremost, we should be lobbying government for an events hire company grant like Scotland's has introduced. Most of us need funds now to pay rent, insurance and utilities, otherwise we're going to lose our business. Please provide an update on if this action is taking place. So I guess that comes back to us and our lobbying. I think it's quite clear what we're lobbying government for. James, did you want to expand on what we're actually lobbying government for?
I think the question we sort of answered earlier, in that we're desperately trying to contact as many of the politicians that we can to get them to realise the plight. We've got several agendas running in parallel. Some of them are to highlight a runway of how we can get restarted, because I think our industry has been lacking with that. It's other industries, admittedly, we're in an interesting position right now as things are changing, but we are looking at how we can try and help the government understand how we might be able to restart. I can't go into too many details about that, but hopefully we will be able to in the near future. We're obviously trying to get them to realise that the existing schemes that are in place, or the ones that come into place as of the 1st of November, are not suitable for most of our businesses. You know, if they were able to work a third of their time, it would be encouraging. You know, some of the businesses, rental companies, etc., are running at 2% of what their normal revenue would be. So some of the processes that are in place right now just are not suitable for our industry. So it all comes down to lobbying and putting those points across and trying to educate the MPs on why our industry is slightly different, and the help that we can get, or hopefully get.
Okay.
Thank you. Some other questions coming in now. We have one here. Says, and believe me, we know how you feel. I've been campaigning and lobbying one way or another since early in the crisis, and I'm now feeling campaign fatigue. Any suggestions on how to invigorate myself?
I think actually taking part in the activations, I think that has certainly helped me with it. When you battle away on Zoom calls and in meetings, etc., trying to get noticed or trying to educate people. The London event was really good for that. I think, you know, being surrounded by people from all across our industry, actually, and being able to talk to them about the challenges they've had and the fact that there is hope that we will get back to work. I actually found that a real recharge for me.
Cool. Agreed, James. Yeah, it was a socially distanced conversation, but it was so great to see, you know, old faces, friends, and it was really invigorating. Absolutely.
But David, Rose, we totally understand that situation, because we equally have this once or twice a week, especially if we get, I'm sorry to say, keyboard warriors who are happy to battle us but not actually even go on the website to look at any information that they don't understand without questioning us immediately. So yeah, totally agree. Contact me offline, my friend, and we'll see if we can merge you into one of our teams and give you some further support, because that's one thing about We Make Events, is we are certainly established in a way where it is all about supporting with all the working groups and WhatsApp groups. It's you can be positioned and supported within the team, if that helps. And whilst I'm on it, sorry, Peter, I know this is your job, but just for Jane Connolly to say, yes, we do speak to Beck2, and yes, Beck2 are involved in again. So we have activations. Within the activations, we then gather a team like you would do for a live event. It's exactly the same: producer, stage management, etc., etc. And Beck2 are part of our various conversations that we get engaged with. And I believe they also join our call on Monday and Friday, I believe. So there we go.
They do. And in addition to that, so there are a lot of other hashtags. So you would have heard of Excluded UK. We're in constant conversation with them about how we can find suitable ways to support each other. You know, they've done a phenomenal job since they started early on in the campaign, as others have too. But we have to, you know, stand as one and absolutely keep going for it. We have another question here, which is another one the same as the one about fatigue. And my suggestion to Andrew is, yeah, shout out and see how you can join in with us, and that might help your fatigue. One of the things that we're also very conscious of within We Make Events is, apart from raising money, trying to find a pathway back to work, doing events, getting ambassadors, trying to get other things going on, is about well-being and mental health. So we're conscious that you know, for so many people across the UK, this is now becoming an issue, let alone just our sector, but our sector is what we're focused on. So I think it would be, you know, check out the website, because I feel sure that something soon will be on there to at least give you some direction of what you might do if you are feeling fatigued by something. So
I think it's fair to say through all of this, we've all had ups and downs, haven't we? We've had moments of despair and then hope and then despair again. And what I've found is that we're not all in in sync with each other. So when you're feeling down or frustrated because you're not, you know, your MP's not helping or they're trying their best and it's not making progress, the one thing about We Make Events is that you actually have other people that are in the same position, but actually maybe not feeling quite the same as you. And it's great to get on those calls and get something positive. You know, when there's a you know, we did some activations in Scotland, and the team up there worked really hard to make a big impact on the last ones we did, and it was great to get involved with them and see what they were doing, and that often allows you to realize that there is a bit of hope, and I think hope is what we all need right now. It's been a really tough summer, hasn't it? And we have to keep pushing at this, and we have to get noticed, or keep getting noticed.
We do. Let's change the questioning to something slightly brighter, which is, has anyone done a photo shoot of a touring band surrounded by all their people who put it on? That has been done. James, you did it.
Yeah, Pink did that. They put up their end of tour picture, and it was really good actually. It wasn't done obviously after COVID, but it was something that they'd done before COVID, and it was a message that she sent out to all of her crew, basically saying, you know, I'm missing you and supporting you. And it, I think several other artists have subsequently done it, and it's great when you you know, it's great for us to be able to show general public exactly how many people they don't see working when they go to a concert. And that, you know, I think that is something that we have to remember after COVID, is we have to keep the messaging going about what our industry does, because so many people don't realize there's 150 people touring around with an arena. There's all the local crew, there's all the teams that are doing the refreshments, the merchandising, and the breadth of the people that work on a show. And I think we have to remind people that although they can't see us, there's a lot of people working on all the events they go to.
Absolutely, and we're fortunate because we've had a number of artists who've come out and supported us. I think, especially since we did the 30th of September. Gary, you've got a few names, I think, haven't you?
I have actually. Yeah, I mean, so on that day, the support we had, and this is no in particular order, and sorry if I've left people out, but from Annie Mac to Bastille to the Blossoms, Boomtown Festival supported us, Coldplay, Dirty Laces, Editors, Elbow, Everything, Fatboy Slim, Frank Turner, Foles, Gaz Coombs, Glastonbury, The Gorillas, Idols, Isle of Wight Festival, K7 Records, Keen, The Libertines, Live Nation, Madness, Mark Knopfler, Massive Attack, Mel C, the list goes on. Noel Gallagher, Nothing But Thieves, Paul Heaton, Pete Doherty, Radiohead, Sage Gateshead, where are we now? Stereophonics, the Coral Cortinas, the Kooks, the Levelers, O2, the Sheratons, the Vamps, the Wombats, Noel Gallagher, UB40. So that's sort of just skipping through about 25% of the support.
It's definitely growing. I mean, you know, we've had artists like Peter Gabriel do videos right at the beginning, and more are coming on board. We've now got artists that are doing events and streaming and contributing some of the sales of the tickets and stuff for that. So I think we need more of it, but actually it's refreshing to see it's coming.
And can I just say that's a clear sign of progress? I remember right from the beginning, we all said, let's get the artists involved. Let's get the people that we make look, you know, we make them look good. We make them sound good. And they weren't behind us. And we understood why. There was a number of reasons why they couldn't stand behind us, and especially the views that they were getting on social media. for supporting us. However, take a look at the names that Gary's just listed. It really shows that they are behind us, and the support is there. But it's just the beginning. We need to carry on growing that internationally as well. There's global artists who are behind that. So Alice Cooper in the States, Pink. There's so many more people that we need to get. With the Australians talk about getting Kylie on board. So this is just the beginning, and we're going to continue that.
Yeah, Jack Black.
And actually looking at the way that progress has been made on that front, it's not a flat road. It's definitely uphill, but it's getting flatter as we make progress. With regards to other progress, which is the progress we really want, which is government to stand up and listen and either find a way for us to get back to work or indeed support us until we can. That is still our primary goal, and we're still working really hard to do that. And in the meantime, we keep trying to raise awareness by doing everything else we're doing, including raising some money. Someone has just sent in a comment here. It's put it as a question. Should we not all be lighting our building and homes in red every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday until something is done? Well, that's an interesting one. I don't know what you think about that, Gary.
Well, I had this conversation only the beginning of the week with Claire. So the activations, we've all got, our team is at full stretch at the moment until we've got the end of the month out of the way. But as you can imagine, we've also got activations planned for November as well. So there's teams working on that. So, however, it has been a conversation that we've had about homes. Venues are very difficult because there's so many staff that are furloughed, and it's really complicated for them to be able to do this. So we don't want to put too much pressure on them. However, venues such as an example, Excel are illuminated red every night anyhow. They've kept that moving forward. But there is a plan to work out potentially about doing the homes in the future. I like maybe once a week, we'll see. But that certainly is on our agenda. But as you can imagine, the planning of it goes all the way into all our regions. We have to ensure that everybody does it. So I will put that on one of our moving forward to do list. But good idea.
Right, we're getting close to the end of our time. I think we've covered pretty much everything that's about We Make Events and how we're doing it and what we're doing, and indeed how people can take part. But just as an opportunity to summarise, is there anything that you guys would like to do to say to the people who are watching to try and get some more engagement, to try and encourage them to take part? Any summary? Coy, anything from you would like to add before we have to wrap up?
The doors are always open. Come and see what we do. Come and join us on our meetings, but get involved. Don't ever feel that you can't say what you feel and you can't get involved. You can get involved. And then there's plenty of things to do. There's a lot of work that we're undertaking, and the more the merrier. We right now it's there's a lot of people going through a very, very hard time, and we want to ensure and we want to make very, very clear that we're here for you. But come and join us. Come and be a part of this. We're not stopping. This is just the beginning of this fight, and we will not stop.
Brilliant, James.
Yeah, I echo what Coy says about getting involved, and I think helping to educate people that aren't in the industry what we do. We've set up a merchandise store which is selling lots of swag to try and get people, not just people within our industry, but the general public, because the more awareness and support we get from the public, the more attention politicians will pay to us. And when last night on Question Time, one of the questions was, well, what's happening in the events industry? The more people in the public that know the sort of the trouble that we're in, the more attention we will get in the places where it might make a difference. So I think, get your friends and family onto the merchandise store, convince them, not the ones from in the industry, but the ones that are getting paid and doing their jobs. Let's get them buying a t-shirt or one of the pins to support us. And, I think for everyone in the events industry, it's going to come back. And when it comes back, I know for one, when I'm sat at a concert in a few years and I see a We Make Events pin on someone's shirt, I'm going to go over and say hello and thank them. They might not want me to, but I'm going to.
Look, I mean, at the end of the day, I've been in this sector for 37 years, and I'm living everything that you guys are all living. I've had no income since March the 6th, and all our projects were dropping off, as we all experience the same. So, and it's difficult. We're trying to champion the industry to help us, get our message across however we can, as organised as we can. I think it's fair to say. We all know that this is unsustainable, the situation for our sector at the moment, and we're just pushing in all of the, as I said, consider it as the 15 staircases, and the next day it's 16 and 20, but we're all running up them as quick as we can, and it's all connected to the same landing, and that is a really good analogy for how we're operating and what we're doing. But there's plenty of room for other staircases and other people to run, is what I want to say.
Brilliant.
You've got to thank Andrew Bishop.
Yeah, I'm just about to say, Andrew, thank you very much. Andrew Bishop has just sent in a very nice word of support to us, and welcome, Andrew. Anytime you want to come in and do whatever you can. And we've just also had a message from NAM. And for those of you who are probably aware of NAM, but it's a massive organisation in the States. They're just saying they're thanking us for putting on the panel, so everybody out there can be updated on what's going on. And Betty says advocacy is a hard slog. We at NAM know this from the long experience in the US, so theirs is no different to ours.
It's also, sorry, Pete, but it's also worth pointing out that we know we've got some work to do. So we are going to be improving our internal messaging to the industry.
Yeah, and also our external. My summary would be this: 5 months ago, we sat in a room and said, well, and James and Coy were part of it, and said, well, let's make a video, and that's how it started, and here we are today with the support and with the progress we've made, and that gives me great hope that as a community we'll continue to support each other, be there for each other, and look out for each other, because that's really important, and providing we're doing that and doing it in a positive way, we will continue, as Coy says, to keep fighting this battle until we get some kind of resolution. So to finish off, because we're running out of time now, thank you all again for tuning in and watching this particular session on We Make Events. Thanks to Gary, James and Coy for giving even more time to do this and to try and give an example of what we're up to. And thank you again for watching, and thanks everybody for watching all throughout the week. To all the other sessions that we've run, and look forward to doing another PLASA Online very soon. Have a great Friday evening, socially distanced, and have a great weekend. Thanks very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thanks, Peter.
Thanks.